Hi guys, welcome to my new video. Today our story will be about a very interesting figure. A figure who was one of the most famous sea pioneers in history. A figure that terrorized kings when they heard its name. And I will inform you about this legend's forgotten story. And how movies distorted the personality of this figure. And to be specific, in a movie I think most of you have watched. So at the end of the video I will inform you about this movie. And I'm pretty sure that you have watched it. So guys, before we start, if this is the first time you're on my channel, don't forget to subscribe so that every new video reaches you. And why wouldn't you subscribe after all? Everybody likes exciting adventurous stories, so let's begin. Amongst the Europeans, he was known by the name Barbarossa, or translated from the Italian Redbeard. He was one of the greatest admirals of the Ottoman Navy. That was the dominant force in the Mediterranean Sea at that time. He was promoted to the rank Pasha of Algiers. He is Khaireddin Barbarossa. And he was one of the sons of a seaman called Jacob. For Jacob had 4 sons. Khaireddin Barbarossa, whose real name was Khizr. The others were Ishaq, Ilyas, and Uruj. And the origins of this family were Albanian. Barbarossa was born in the year 1422. In the island of Lesbos. His original name was Khizr, the son of Jacob. He received from the Sultan the honorary name Khaireddin Pasha, which means goodness of the faith. One day there was a meeting between Sultan Selim I and the corsair Uruj. Just in case you didn't forget, Uruj is the brother of Khaireddin Barbarossa. Sultan Selim discussed the matter of the Spanish Inquisition and the letters that he received from the oppressed Moors, who were brutally tortured and forced to convert to Christianity. The Sultan gave Uruj a request on this matter, which was known as the Impossible Mission. Sultan Selim requested Uruj to save the Moors of Spain, and the strategy was as follows. Step number 1 was crossing the Mediterranean Sea from the Far East, which is now present-day Turkey, to the far west of the Mediterranean Sea, which is present-day Spain and Portugal, and to fight the European coalition on his way. This coalition consisted of the armies of Spain, Portugal, Italy, and the ships of the Knights of St. John the Baptist. Step number 2 was to surround strategic army bases of the enemy and create a safe passage for the Ottoman ships to one of the cities of the Iberian Peninsula. Step number 3 was to destroy the navy protection of the specific city, and when the city is reached, to fight urban warfare against the Spanish forces. Step number 4 was to reconquer the Spanish city, to raise the Ottoman flag on the forts, and to surveil all the roads leading to churches to prevent priests escaping the city, for some of them were the leading figures in the Inquisition. Step number 5 was the immediate investigation of all the churches and to prevent persecuted Moors being smuggled out to hidden places and to find them. Step number 6 was to free the Moors and move them to the Ottoman ships for transportation. The movement happened when it was dark, because the persecuted Moors were in complete darkness for years, and the exposure to daylight would cause them blindness. Step number 7 was the retreatment of the Ottoman army out of the city within 6 hours from the beginning of the operation, to avoid confrontation with the reinforcement Spanish troops from the nearby cities. Step number 8 was the complete embarkment of the ships and then sailing through the darkness of the night towards Algeria instead of Turkey, thus hitting 2 birds with 1 stone, for the fast treatment of the injured and to mislead the European Navy. Conclusion: this task was similar to the impossible missions of James Bond, only that this was a real event that happened and not a science fiction movie. Uruj succeeded in his mission, and it is known by historians as one of the most remarkable events in history. And with this action, Uruj and his brothers saved thousands of Iberian Muslims. One day, Spain declared war against France. On this occasion, the King of France, Francis I, requested help from Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. The Sultan answered by sending Khaireddin Barbarossa, who is the younger brother of Uruj, and led a powerful naval force which comprised 18 galleys and was stationed in the French city of Marseille. The fleet of Barbarossa stayed for 5 years in Marseille and succeeded in the defeat of Spain. Barbarossa led great campaigns on the sea. One of the famous battles was the victory in the Battle of Preveza by the Ionian Sea, which is situated in the Mediterranean Sea. It was a great battle. The whole of Europe united after Pope Paul III requested to face the Ottoman threat, which led the assembly of a fleet comprised of 600 ships loaded with 60,000 soldiers, and the leader of this fleet was one of the greatest admirals in Europe, and his name is Andrea Doria. The Ottoman fleet comprised 122 ships and loaded around 22,000 soldiers, and both fleets met each other in Preveza on September in the year 1538. Barbarossa surprised his opponents before he could prepare his fleet for battle, and the result was the retreat and the splitting of the European fleet, and Admiral Doria fled the scene. This battle was recorded in history as one of the shortest battles. It took lesser than 5 hours for the battle to end, and Barbarossa returned and captured almost all the remaining Christian outposts in the Ionian and the Aegean seas. His fleet killed thousands of soldiers, took 3,000 prisoners, and sunk, destroyed and captured over 128 ships. The Ottoman fleet didn't lose any ship, and as a result, the navy became master of the seas for over more than 300 years after this battle. This victory struck great fear in the European continent and restored Ottoman dominance over the Mediterranean Sea. And Sultan Suleiman welcomed the victors with great contentment, to the extent that celebrations were organized over the whole empire. Okay, so stay with me till the end and notice. Did you know that when you ask people about a man whose beard is red, has one eye and has a wooden leg, that most people would say that this person has to be the villain pirate, murderer, a criminal, a thief, etc, etc, etc. This is how they portrayed him in Hollywood movies and cartoons. But the reality is that this distorted image of the killer and criminal pirate doesn't depict the true character of this person. Unfortunately, this idea was accepted by many people. And one of the famous movies that discredited this corsair is, of course, The Pirates of the Caribbean. And in this movie, the character of Barbarossa was depicted as a savage, treacherous, and bloody person. And the villain figure that represented this person was the fictional character Hector Barbossa. He started out as a villainous undead pirate in the first movie, The Curse of the Black Pearl, and died at the end of the film by the hands of the main character Jack Sparrow. However, he is revealed to have been brought back to life in the second sequel, Dead Man's Chest, before appearing in the third sequel at World's End. In the fourth film, On Stranger Tides, he was a privateer with the Royal Navy. And finally, as the rich and influential leader of his own pirate fleet in the sequel, Dead Men Tell No Tales. And this was the story of the movie. And Barbarossa was portrayed as a dark trickster, whose only goal was to follow his desires, searching for gold and money, and was ready to trick people and lie for his own gains. Khaireddin Barbarossa established the Ottoman supremacy in the Mediterranean Sea, which lasted until the Battle of Lepanto in 1571. However, even after their defeat in Lepanto, the Ottomans quickly rebuilt their fleet and gained Cyprus and other territories. Outside of Turkey or the wider Islamic world, the famous British historian of naval military history, Edward Cabell Chatterton, considered him the greatest corsair that has ever lived, and one of the cleverest tacticians and strategists the Mediterranean ever bore on its waters. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to be notified about our latest videos.